Because we couldn't do what we're doing without our volunteers. Here from the elbow, no. Trees and supplies, $4,379. And we donated $500 to the Good Friends Meal Program. And we donated $500 to the United Way Food plant that is just about a block away from us. Wages, $6,224. New purchases, 297, not overwhelming. Administration, 340, and entertainments for our members, $999. And that came to 22,844. And the rest went towards our new parking lot, which we financed by grants and donations and 20 years of savings and part of the mill levy. So would you like to say what we spent or what it goes to?
Some of the things that we do at the senior center is provide a venue for seniors to gather, because it is so important for senior citizens to keep an active social life and not let isolation and loneliness be affecting their mental and physical health. So in our senior center, we are open just about every day of the week. And there's a group that gathers for morning coffee. There are exercise groups for bone builders. We have foot care there, not provided the same way. Individuals make appointments and pay for the foot care that's provided, but it's a place to have that. There's afternoon coffee with a light lunch, which I suspect might be some people's supper. And then we do a monthly potluck. We gather for games and cards and puzzles in the afternoons for anyone who chooses to participate. We honor people every month with a birthday cake for the monthly birthdays. We also try to educate seniors on the things that they're going to need to know as they go through different transitions in their life. Some concerning healthcare, some concerning different programs that they may need. We've had memory care education. We every month highlight all of the Medicare fraud and those kinds of things that are out there. We've had Senior Life Solutions come in and speak, and Thrivent Financial Planning. We've had topics like Alzheimer's, handicap issues, trying to be safe and stay safe in your home. All of these things that people are going to, hopefully you live so that you do end up going through these things and maybe need that information. But we also provide for the community, it is a space that people can, most who use it pay a small fee, a rental fee, and then that helps defray the building costs. But we have our voting there. Voting takes place for the general and the primary elections. And it's a meeting space for other community organizations, township meetings, museum board, the Quilters Guild. People can rent and have birthday celebrations and family reunions and things like that. And we kind of feel that it's right there on the paper that without the mill levy, it would really be very difficult for the Leavenworth Senior Center to exist. So thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Cecil Tinderholt, Northwood Senior Citizens. We have a membership of 201 people. Last year, we served 8,525 meals. That included home delivered meals at 1,723. Included in that 1,723, we have 5 or 6 people that are homebound, meaning they don't get out of the house. Without the meals we deliver on Tuesday and Thursday, they could not live in their homes. When we deliver those meals, if they don't come to the door, we go in and check on them. If we find a problem when we go in, we contact their contact person, who in turn brings them to the medical or does what needs to be done. We also have the availability of the building for people to have joint sessions with their families there. They can also visit there when they finish their meals, or plan their days, or plan who is going to drive somebody to Fargo or Grand Forks for a medical situation. Again, the total mill levy we get is $24,308.73.
Were there any questions for me at all? I don't.
Right, you have some.
Of course.
Uh, First of all, it is a vote of the people, so the only way it can be changed is by a vote, so I'll make that clear. But I do have questions about how the money's spent, et cetera. On page 12 and 13.
Mhm.
You wanna look to that, please? On page 12 under revenues, well, first of all, what is the cost to make a meal? And what is the recommended donation?
Okay, for 2026, our cost is $10.25. The suggested donation is $4.25. And our average donation that we collect is $1.76.
And there's no means testing,
No. That is a federal guideline.
so you're not allowed to means test.
We're not allowed to means test.
But we got those numbers, 10.25, average donation $1.76 and no means testing. On page 13, it says Pembina and Walsh payments. Could you explain that?
Yes,
Please.
because we have the contract from the state for the federal and state money for Region 4.
Okay.
So Pembina's and Walsh's monies come through us.
And it goes,
We go.
your fiscal agent.
Yep,
Okay.
we're, exactly.
And then in general, I know the different events, and I'm a senior, so I can say what I want, right? I'm talking about myself. What we need to go as we go through the county budget, I want everyone to remember is, as we're, at least me, looking at cutting and finding ways to do things cheaper, the fact that it's a 1 mil guarantees, and this isn't the only one, this mill is guaranteed, if the value goes up, they're guaranteed an increase every year while we're cutting at the county level. I want to understand, make sure you understand that. While we, at least me, we're looking at, we've got bills to pay. We're saying we have to cut this, do this, and they're guaranteed an increase. Because if the value of the mill goes up, then they get the whole value. And this isn't the only one like this. And so I know it's touchy, but I'm past the touchy-feely days now. It's, side note, federal level, 39 trillion. It's all gonna roll downhill. We have to start looking at something. We cannot continue to do what we're doing as a county. So I'm not any old people, because I'm one of them. But if we're just gonna continue on this, it's just gonna make everything continue to get worse. If everyone's not willing to be forced to take a bite. If we're not all gonna work on this, then it's just something else, we're gonna cut more. So you can pull a deputy off, you're not plow a road, where are we gonna go? Because at some point, and we didn't get to the budget, I was between caps, and then I can go through I want to go through it all in this Tom's on the line, wait till next meeting, but we're unsustainable as the fiscal model we currently have. So I've been out there, I went through it, something, not anti-old guy, I'm one of them, but I'm just telling you, we're all gonna have to, we gotta get more people out of the wagon pushing and less people getting into the wagon. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And one more time, while we're cutting, other places are getting guaranteed increases. And you have to explain that to the employees down the road while we're cutting, while other places are guaranteed an income increase. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Any other questions for?
Yeah, if Colin, thanks for the work you guys do, and thanks for explaining everything. Appreciate that. You usually do a lot more than I realized. So is basically all aspects of what you guys are doing kind of treated as a universal community service versus, is there, you mentioned there's no means testing. So are there any aspects of things you do that could be more of a targeted public service, or how do you differentiate?
Well, okay, so at the federal level, the federal programs, which are the meals and the health, those are for people 60 and older and their spouses. So their spouses can be any age. And then, like in the meal program I talked about, so grandparents that might have custody and be guardians of children.
So they're then they're considered eligible for the program. But that's, there are targeting measures in place, so looking at people that live in poverty, rural, minorities, people at risk for nursing home placement, at risk for brain, being institutionalized because of cognitive problems. Those are targeting, which we really look at. But we can't deny, as long as we don't have a wait list, which we do not have a wait list for anything right now. Then everybody, if you want to come on, Mr. Berkey can come down and have a meal. We can't deny services.
Okay.
Yep.
I would just like to say I've been associated with Senior Center for probably about 13 years. I work and load Meals on Wheels bags every day of the week, Monday through Friday. And there is absolutely no waste that goes out of that kitchen. Jerry, who is the cook that I work with, she has that thing figured out to the last chicken patty, to the last meatball, and there's absolutely no waste. And the amount of meals that go through there and the professionalism of that staff is incredible. And I at no time plan on not being there every day, because I want to make a difference there, and it's a great place. And I understand about budgets and all this other stuff, and this is a 1 mil levy. It's a vote of the people. The only way you get rid of it is to bring it before the people again, and I don't think you stand a chance on getting that defeated.
So Bob brought up a really good comment about no waste, because if you look at our menus, the items that are on our menus, if whatever's extra, that goes into our frozen meal program. So we make extra, of course, because we're doing about 5,000 frozen meals a month. But that's why we don't have the food waste, because we can move it right into that. We have blast freezers to freeze, flash freeze our foods.
Yeah, I'd like to echo Commissioner Hodney's statement about, I'm kind of shocked at how much you're offering. It's quite impressive.
Thank
And if you think about it, I think pretty decent bang for the buck. And that list of volunteers is astounding. So Mr. Ross deserves a thank you from the community for participating as well. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that I was impressed. I liked your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions before we go on to the next topic? Thanks. Thank you so much, Clyde.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody who came to present, and thank you. EDC, wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you. That's supposed to be on the down low, but that didn't work out.
No, everybody knows.
Don't look a day over 70.
Speaking of seniors, I just.
Too good about myself, I know who to call. Well, Chair Hagan, Commission members, thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and I'll thank Mr. Ford when he can hear me. I'll hopefully do that in person. Keith Lund, President and CEO of Grand Forks Region Economic Development Corporation. I'll introduce a few people that really don't need much of an introduction, but I'm here with Becca Kruger, our Director of Economic Development, and John Otkin, recent Henry Havoc Award winner at the Chamber. He's our immediate past chairman of our executive committee. He came today to support the team. Just really want to thank you for your support and the opportunity to provide an overview of our organization. And seeing the previous one, I wish we'd included a couple of additional slides in there, but we can certainly provide any follow-up information that you'd like. Next slide, please. Just want to highlight our mission and vision. Mission of the Grand Forks Region Economic Development Corporation is to expand economic opportunity in the region through industry growth and diversification. We'll touch on that in just a little bit. Our vision for the region is that we have a location and a home that attracts not only business investment, but people to the community to help drive prosperity in Grand Forks County. Next slide. Just, this might be repetitive for some folks that have been on the commission a while, but I just wanted to give a really brief overview of our history. Our roots can be tracked back to 1967. There were some business leaders at the time that felt that an organization needed to have land for businesses that are moving to Grand Forks. So the Grand Forks Development Foundation was created, and through various different means, they purchased land in the industrial park and other places throughout the community. And you can see their mission was industrial concerns, but exclusively in the city of Grand Forks. And they were a passive organization. We'll just say waiting for the phone to ring. If you wanted to do a project and needed the land, you called them and they sold it to you, donated it to you. I don't have the details. It was far before my time. I was barely born. You can do the math. 1988, leaders at the time thought that, you know, maybe that wasn't good enough and we needed an organization that was proactive to go out there and try to mine opportunity, put deals together and bring business to Grand Forks. So the Grand Forks Region Economic Development Corporation was created. The foundation still exists, but is largely dormant. For those sort of tracking economic development history in North Dakota, 1987, the Jobs Development Authority legislation was passed in the legislature. That gave cities and counties expanded ability to use creative methods for economic development. Also, the purpose was expanded, sort of to drive new wealth creation jobs, and that was expanded to all of Grand Forks County. So I guess officially in 1988, we became a Grand Forks County focused organization. Next slide, please. Board of Directors, mandatory slide. Top line is our executive committee. John's there. Wanted to point out Commissioner Rusted, so thank you for designating him to serve on our Board of Directors. Also wanted to just kind of highlight sort of the engagement level that we have with community leadership with the EDC. For those of you who had an opportunity to attend our annual meeting, we had a little bit of a conversation about community leader engagement. And so all of these folks, not everyone attends every meeting, as you can appreciate, but you know, I'm not aware of any other, you know, board in which, you know, city and the county and the University of North Dakota and the airport authority that's really small, so I can't read everything, but the chamber, Air Force Base, all sort of come together to talk about how and the best way to move the community forward. Next slide. We brought the revenues. We didn't bring the expense slide, so if that's something you need, obviously throughout the process, you'll get that. This just highlights a little bit of how our organization is funded. So we take a look at, I'm going to hit the business community last. So there's Grand Forks County and Grand Forks City. They're kind of running neck and neck at $250,000 a year. And we very much appreciate your support. We recently received, we're very fortunate to receive support from the North Dakota Department of Commerce for some workforce grants. So a month ago, that was a smaller number, but around $300,000 was received. A little bit of miscellaneous income, interest revenue, that type of thing. But then the business community is $570,000. That's a budget number. We're about $15,000 away from reaching that, but we're on our way. We have focused on really prioritizing growth of the business sector. There's a really, you know, a recognition of that we can't rely on large dollars from the public sector. And so we have been very focused on raising that. We had a chart, this slide this presentation could have been several slides longer, but that really shows the growth of the business community investment and then sort of by proportion, sort of how less reliant we are on public sector dollars. Next slide, please. But a point that I did want to make, and maybe a point I'll make the last time I addressed you, I think it was about a year ago when we were having similar conversations, the leverage of the county investment we think is significant. For every $1 that you invest in the Economic Development Corporation, $4.95. I'm in economic development, so I round up. So to me, that's $1 you invest, we are able to receive $5 from other sources to help execute the mission of the Economic Development Corporation and the priorities of the region. A little bit about our core operations. Make no mistake about it, we are an organization that is focused on business development. That's what economic development corporations do. It's our job to work with partners across the region, including the county, in terms of expanding business in Grand Forks. We do that through attraction and expansion. So that's the art of, you would call it deal making, or making sure that we have companies that are looking at and prioritizing investing in Grand Forks. Workforce, companies can't be successful without workers to help propel their forward and make sure they can be as successful as they can be. Marketing, we have to market the attributes of the region. There's lots of factors of that, our business climate, the talent that we have in the region, the infrastructure that can support certain industries. UAS is just a really good example of that. And then stakeholder engagement, which that can mean a number of different things. That can mean our members to make sure we have the resources to do our work. partners to help us execute the mission. And so those are our 4 platforms in which we operate and we focus our resources around. Probably known to most, but I just never miss an opportunity to talk about primary sector. That's our focus. There are a lot of businesses. All businesses are important, but our mandate from creation is to work in the primary sector. And those are companies that add value to a product or service. So simply said, make something here. Manufacturing is the easiest thing to understand, or value-added food processing. Grab a potato, make it a French fry, and the second part of that is sell it outside the region. The majority of the customers are outside of the Grand Forks region, outside of North Dakota, in many cases across the globe. That adds new wealth to the community. Primary sector companies, they pay local taxes, they pay local wages, and they make purchases from companies throughout the region. That can be from nuts and bolts, the inputs, to accounting services, construction services, raw materials. So all sorts of purchases throughout the region. Maybe unnecessary, but this shows how the primary sector works. Something's made here, it's sold all over the world. They pay, that money comes back to Grand Forks to make the contributions that I just highlighted in the previous slide. Next slide. You can't be everything to everybody. We have to focus our efforts on the things that we think that we have a competitive or comparative advantage. We work on all primary sector opportunities. We had Twin State Environmental here. It doesn't fit into one of these buckets, but if there's a primary sector opportunity that's focused on Grand Forks, or that we can convince to look at Grand Forks, we're going to work that opportunity to try to bring that over the finish line. But we spend the majority of our efforts in marketing, looking at manufacturing, agribusiness, so those are 2 legacy sectors, and then UAS and defense, which is Grand Sky and all that's going on at the base. We could have you can leave, that's fine. We could have another line. We do spend a fair amount of time making sure that we have the right relationships with the University of North Dakota. There's a number of opportunities that come from the research and the industry engagement work that they do. And we serve on search committees and various boards to make sure we understand their capabilities so that we can meet the companies that they're engaged with, so that hopefully we can leverage that to some investment in the region. I do want to spend a little bit of time on this, and I knew that was going to be way too small, so I brought a cheat sheet up here. This really is sort of our wheel of what we do and how we do it. And this is a simplification of the process, but I think it's important to walk through. So we talked about identifying opportunity, and there are probably 1,000 different ways that we've done it, but we put it into 4 categories. Becca and our business development team, BRE, business retention and expansion, that really is an economic development industry term that talks about going out and visiting with all of your primary sector clients at least once a year. We probably do on an average 3 times a year. So we're going to visit Simplot, we're going to visit Cirrus, we're going to visit GE, asking about what are your opportunities, what are your challenges. If there are challenges, maybe there's something that we can do to help address those. Economic development's been accused of being sort of an inch deep and a mile wide. We need to know a lot of people that can help solve problems. We need to know a little bit about a lot of things. But the relationships we have, talked about stakeholder engagement, is extremely important. So ideally, through these conversations, we learn about opportunities, what they're pursuing, and we can, whether it's a state program or whether it's reminding them about our, competitive business climate or any number of things, encourage them to make that investment, to add property tax base, to add jobs, that type of thing. Site selector. We, Gristo work through a site selector as an example. So companies, in many times, they'll hire a company or an individual to work on their behalf to find the best place to do a project. We're investing time and effort into strengthening our relationship with site selectors, both associations and individuals. And so we can uncover an opportunity through that engagement. Marketing, that can come from website marketing and a number of things. Again, we talked about that. That's a big part of what we do as an EDC. And referral. Twin State Environmental, that was a referral. Somebody knew that they were looking to expand in North Dakota. They introduced them to us, and we talked about some different sites that can support them. And ultimately, they were here in front of you not too long ago, and that's going to be a project that we're going to have in Grand Forks. If that all goes well, in one fashion or another, we end up submitting a request for proposal. And that could be something as formal, very formal, like, a 15 or 20-page document that talks about what it's like to live here, what it's like to have a business here, infrastructure that's developed, local and state programs, any number of things. It can be as simple as sending information on sites, and maybe someone's interested in the building, and we say, here's the contact for that. So proposals can come in various different forms that can be very sophisticated or very, minor in terms of the information you share. We had a site visit on Friday, didn't know on Thursday that was happening. And we've already provided information through email about different things that I just suggested, so that could easily be a proposal as well. Through that engagement, the EDC staff connects with them and tries to understand that the information that we provided is sufficient, what more information do they need? And really, at the end of the day, how can we get them to Grand Forks if they haven't been here? A lot of what we do is try to get people on the ground in Grand Forks so we can show Grand Forks off, Grand Forks County off. We say that once they're here, we've got them. If that's successful, we get them here, we drive them to the best of our ability and with a lot of partners, including the folks at the county and the city and chamber, and depending on their opportunity, to drive them to select Grand Forks or either make a new investment or expansion of an existing opportunity. If they expand in Grand, so Agrista was a great example. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Hopefully then the company expands to Grand Forks, and then the EDC at the end of the day provides ongoing support. You can talk to our clients. Just because someone says we're doing it and starts investing, obviously we go to the next opportunity, but we continue to support them. If we uncover a challenge, we try our very best to work with them. There was a company that was having challenges a few years ago with workforce. We brought them in, we brought a number of workforce partners. We shared with them the different pipelines that they could access. We shared some candid information about some things that we thought that maybe they could do better in terms of supporting themselves. And so we take a look and try to support the companies that are here now. The headlines generally gravitate to new things. Actually, the majority of your sustained job growth comes from companies that are right here today. So we do spend, if we get a big fish, we work really hard and we're really thankful that the Agrista is coming, but we do spend generally more time visiting with local companies, trying to understand what their needs are to help them be successful in Grand Forks. Next slide, please. When I was here last, I talked about, and I obviously don't know who all of your partners are, but we're really proud that one of our mandates is to drive revenue back to Grand Forks County. And that's through property tax of the clients and the projects that we work on. And by extension, homes that are built and businesses that are developed to help support those current primary sector companies that are in Grand Forks. I'll be honest, we looked really hard for a multiplier that says per job, how many homes are built and what that property tax might mean to any property tax entity. And, we didn't want to make it up and we didn't want to be open to criticism. So we just thought we'd lead with this and let you do your own math and what you think that would derive. So, but every year EDC clients contribute $3.8 million to the collective property tax base in Grand Forks County. Next slide, please. In addition, and this is where the multiplier could come in if we had a good one, $669 million are contributed to payroll in Grand Forks County through those primary sector companies. And I forgot the number, but I want to say that's in the 50 or 60 company range. Over 9,000 jobs, so the average salary is around $73,000 for these clients. So if you want to think about the impact, a mentor of mine years ago said, sometimes it's hard to talk about what the multipliers for a new project, but if you want to understand the impact of some of these companies, imagine, and I won't name any company, but imagine if a company wasn't here and the impact that would have in our region. Take your pick on any big significant company. I talked about Agrista a few times. It's a recent example, so I think it's relevant in people's minds. And this is another way, in just an example of one, but very large project that's driving revenue back to the city. There was a property tax benefit that was provided and approved by the city and the county and the school district. What you likely know, but just in case you don't, is that property tax exemption doesn't kick in until the project is complete, until it's fully taxed. It's a little bit of an extra cost for the developer for the project in the short term, but for their benefit, they don't waste a partial year exemption on a partial partial valuation. So these are estimates that were provided by the city as it went through the process. But during the 3 years of development, so the first year is this year, and then the next couple of years while they're developing the project, it's anticipated to generate over $3 million of property tax, because they'll be sort of taxed for maybe 25% of the project being completed, and then 50%, and then 75%. As it go on, the Grand Forks County share of that is $763,000 over that 4-year period. Upon project completion, that's when the exemption comes in. $476,000, even at a 90% exemption, which was approved, will be driven back to the taxing entities, again, based on those estimates. And $119,000, almost $120,000 will come back to the county based on that new project. And there are a number of examples, none of them as big as this one, but this is just really how the work of the EDC, working with the partners, again, how it's intended to drive revenue back to the taxing entities to hopefully over time, improve things. budget challenges, I understand, but that's a focus of the EDC is to drive money back. Next slide. This is our pipeline. I'm here to tell you that this all will not happen, but you know, we have 19 projects that valued at over $900 million of capital investment. One of them is a soybean press facility. It's about half of that, so beyond. And if everything came to fruition, that would be 862 jobs. It never happens that way. We'll be working on something and it won't happen, so that'll fall off the table, but we'll have another project and we'll add that, so that's constantly evolving. But that's the number of things that we're working on at the moment. And those are not emails that we've had, those are people that we're talking about specific projects in specific locations about doing something very specific. I wanted to talk a little bit about, and it's absolutely fair to say that the majority of the projects happen in the city of Grand Forks. It's when the majority of the robust infrastructure exists, and when you're talking about certain industries, that's where they need to be. But we just did I think it's over the last 5 or 7 years of projects that we worked on outside of Grand Forks or Northern Tennessee. We call them our best repeat customer. I joined the EDC 20 years ago last month, and visited them, and they look nothing today like they looked like in 2006 in terms of what they've added, concrete and equipment, their facility. Twin State Environmental, I'll talk a little bit about that. That was a referral. They have a facility in Richardson, and they were looking at expanding. They kind of went through some of that when they were here with you. And someone said, hey, I think Grand Forks might be a good location. They connected us. We quickly invited them for a visit to Grand Forks. We met in our conference room. We went through all the things that you can imagine we go through. They said intriguing. I got connected to the landowner, started looking at what could be with rail infrastructure that existed. They needed to invest in some additional beyond that. State programs, business climate, all the things I've talked about, all things came together very nicely. Thank you for your support of that project. They'll be constructing this year, and they hope to be operational, I think, in the September timeframe. So that's happening now. Downtown Bean Company is a project we just worked on. I'm going to skip the Gilby Housing for a second. Northrop Grumman and General Atomics, there are a lot of people in the US space, so I'm not trying to take credit for what's going on at Grand Sky in the base, but we have worked with them in terms of bringing some of those programs and encouraging them to make another step in terms of their investment. In Northdale Oil, that's not a primary sector company. We worked with the City of Grand Forks' growth fund back 5 years ago, I'm going to say. That's kind of my stock answer. Could be off 2 years either direction. The growth fund, because of our conversations, in City of Grand Forks, they use their resources almost exclusively for primary sector companies. And Northwood or a Laram or a Johnstown, if a community wants to prioritize a grocery store or a dentist or a gas station, the growth fund will open up the resources and provide pace matching dollars, because economic development in Johnstown and Northwood is a little bit different than economic development in the City of Grand Forks. So they have, I think, very graciously opened their resources for something in a smaller community in Grand Forks County that they wouldn't do in the City of Grand Forks. And the last one I'll talk about, and this is sort of emerging and we're working on it now, and I think Becca's going to be with them in a couple of days, but Gilby is working on a 5-unit affordable housing project. And we know how important housing is. There have been a lot of conversations here. I don't know that I want to go too far down that path, but because of the need that they have in Gilby for additional housing, and because of some of the state resources that we're aware of, we're providing some guidance to help them work through that process. We did a little bit of sort of algebra on that project. 5 housing units in Gilby is equivalent of 1,200 units in the City of Grand Forks when you put a portion to it. So it can be very meaningful to a community the size of Gilby. Maybe? Okay. You've likely heard us talk about, and our board has, we're weeks away from approving our current strategic plan, but confident enough in how far we've gone down the path to say that this is going to be in there. My former boss used to say that really an economic development corporation role is to ensure that we have the things in place that ensure that we can be successful in the long term. And these are those things. And we will lend our voice and many times sort of partner, but lead if necessary, things like air service expansion, base retention and expansion, really led by others, but we're participating. Childcare, Chair Hagan, we've been involved in conversation with you on that. Housing, we talked about it. Natural gas, a big push to see if we can get additional natural gas at Grand Forks to pardon the pun, fuel our growth. And general community and regional vibrancy. We want to make sure that Grand Forks County and the communities in Grand Forks County are attractive, and they attract, again, that business investments. and attract people that can live in those communities and help drive communities forward, companies forward. Workforce development, I'll go through this a little quickly, but you know, a number of years ago, we brought Beck on board on the first hire, and she'll tell you that's the best decision I've ever made. And we really expanded our workforce programming because of her expertise, passion, but because it was needed. In no particular order in terms of what was developed. We worked through K through 12 in times to trying to educate students on the value of working in Grand Forks region, the opportunities that are here that can keep them there if they want to stay. Some will want to go, and that's the way the world works. But for those who want to stay, how can they do that? The first one was Northern Valley Career Expo. This last year, we brought 25 high school sophomores to Alair Center from Northeast North Dakota, Northwest Minnesota to showcase foreign careers. And they were on the exhibition floor. They touched and felt the careers. So that was a very good experience for them. But that's not good enough. We need to have them sit in a room and listen to someone and engage with someone talking about what their company does in aligns with their interest, the skills they need, the training that they need, the salaries they can make, and even how you can transfer skills between one company or another within that industry. These are 16-year-olds, so nobody's handing out applications. Manufacturers are working together to make sure that they have students that are interested in manufacturing help that way down the line. For Impact Academy, probably don't need to say a lot of that. We're part of a big team that helped drive that over the finish line. Opened up this year, fantastic facility. It's going to really elevate that in terms of retention and educating students. Post-secondary, we run a program in partnership with the University of North Dakota. They provide the resources for us to, and then we leverage our relationships with industry to provide internships. Either a third or 50% of the internships are supported. They think by us, but at the end of the day, UND gives us the resources to make those contributions. Becca's got some great stats, not enough time to go through that with you in terms of retention and how that is really benefiting the region. And workforce development in terms of recruitment of people, and Greater Grand Forks we grow than you think, and there's a whole suite of materials and efforts within that sort of brand that helps educate people about the value of living and working in Grand Forks. I'm going to tell a story, and I'll try to make it short. This was motivated by Northrop Grumman announcement they were investing in Grand Forks. They said, we're going to hire 100 people. We're going to hire 50 from your market, and that was folks who graduated from UND and Northland, and they probably stole a few folks from UND, folks who are retired from the base and the National Guard. But 50 people we're going to bring to Grand Forks. They were going to be consolidating activity from Yuma, Arizona, San Diego, California, and Melbourne, Florida, all really cold states as you're playing that through in your mind. They said, we don't have we can't make anybody come to Grand Forks. They could transfer to another job within our company or walk across the street and work for another Department of Defense or Department of War contractor. We need to be able to market Grand Forks, but we can't do it. We just got here. So we need your help. We need to develop something to help us communicate the value of living and working in Grand Forks. County actually joined the city and the chamber and ourselves and UND and I think CBB, I think I got them all right, invested for 2 years. We told each of those entities that if this has enough value, the private sector is going to have to step up and sustain it, and they did. I think it was $50,000 or $60,000 one year to the next for the companies that invested further in EDC to sustain this because of that. So this is another example of sort of leveraging some early investment of the county and the other entities to drive something that has value for the companies. A little bit of quick stats. I think I'm a couple of slides ahead to wrap up. The next slide. Shows a little bit of population growth over a 15-year period of time. The information on the right, I like to repeat as often as I can. Because of the work of the programs and the initiatives that I went over and the work of so many organizations to support that effort in general, we have had over the last decade 23% growth of what I call the YP demographic, 25 to 39-year-olds, compared to 11% nationally, and 11% of school-age children compared to 2% nationally. And we're actually missing people my age. I think it's associated with the flood. I don't have to go there, but we're doing a good job of filling those buckets of people early and retaining people. Graduates of UND, folks who attend school in Grand Forks, and bringing people essentially back home or to Grand Forks for the opportunities that are created. Grand Sky is a great example of that in terms of being able to bring people in. But the programs that have been created largely with the creativity of Becca and her team have been a big contributor that leads to success in this area. And I go back to the sort of the mission and the vision and really just focus on the vision Next slide, just really is talking about an environment that attracts business investment. But on top of that, people to the region to drive local industry, hopefully expand the tax base and drive greater prosperity in the region. End of my presentation, I'd be very happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions for this one?
Well, actually, first of all, this isn't the total amount. I didn't bring my budget book. Isn't the Red River Regional Council get 75? Do
I
you-
don't know that number.
I think it's 75,000. Does that sound about right? And so I think the total county commitment, I believe, is around 350 for, I think there's a couple small towns too, but I just wanted to, so this is the total amount. I'll just tie it into a different topic, well, somewhat related. We give money out to tell business they don't have to pay it back for 20 years. So we're expending money, we don't see the results for 10 or 15 or 20 years later. And so I get the concept, but we have bills to pay now. And you're going to see an overriding theme in my budget message as we go along. If we can't cut anything, what are you going to do? If everything is the sacred cow, then what are you going to do? Because the path we're on is unsustainable. So we either all have to participate and on a diet, which is I'm not a fan of, or, I mean, personally, or we're not gonna have enough money. I mean, it's not debatable if you look at the numbers of where we're heading. And so, I just want to bring that out, and so I'm not picking on anybody. Everyone's gonna hear the same speech every time when it comes to our budget. If we don't do something different, at some point, you're gonna be out of reserve funds. And then what are you gonna do? So it's either, we need to be a little Three Musketeer talk here. All for one, one for all. Thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Lund? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. The Greater Fork City Planning and Zoning Appointment.
Yes, I can take this one. And we do have sound back online, just so thank you to IT for figuring that out. We will have to contact High Point Network. I think it's a little bit of a put together solution, but hopefully we'll have that figured out for the next commission meeting. So apologies to everyone online and our speakers who are here tonight. And thank you everyone here for your patience. But as far as this city planning and zoning appointment, so this is for city planning and zoning. They have positions there for the extraterritorial area within that 2 miles outside of Grand Forks city limits. And so there are 3 seats for that. This would be a reappointment of Steve Wasvik, who has served for a long time on this planning and zoning commission. There is still 1 seat open. We weren't able to get any other applicants. If you'll remember, we also had promoted this in August or shared this in August, so we didn't get any applicants then. But this was Steve decided to reapply, and I think he's worked well with the planning and zoning. I mean, you can see that he's serving as the president, so it's just asking the commission for a vote to reappoint.
All right, my first and second, is there any other comments? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. West.
Good afternoon, Chair Hagan, members of the board. I have 1 item for consideration today. Has to do with project BRJ 0018041. And for the board's awareness, this project dates back to 2021 when the states listed for bridge projects. This project, it was bid through the DOT. Gowan Construction is the apparent low bidder. The bids are reasonable and appropriate. I would recommend approval. The project is 100% federally paid, so not locally funded at all.
the project has 4 locations. Four bridges are impacted, so the first bridge would be replaced with a triple box culvert. Second bridge is on a dirt road and nothing's going back. And I have talked with the township supervisors and the people that live around there. It's not even a minimum maintenance road, it's literally a dirt trail. The other 2 bridges, when we applied for the grant or for the bridge program, we applied to remove the bridge and put a low water crossing in. Shortly thereafter, the DOT came back and said, running out of money and they're not gonna fund low water crossings. So that falls onto the county. So the county, we are planning to put in a low water crossing. And when I say a low water crossing, I mean bridge comes out and we put a small culvert in that handles 2 to a 3-inch rain. Anything over that, the road goes over. The water goes over the road, excuse me. So we would build a new road through the channel, right over the top of the culvert. We pour concrete over the top of the culvert in the channel, so it doesn't wash out regularly. The difference here is that the roads are actively used, however, they're not daily commute routes for the folks. So it's not a mail route or a way somebody needs to use to get on a daily basis. But they are field access, and so the access is needed. In the agenda, I just had the resolution in there, so that's you can see that in your packet where county would accept the bid. Shortly thereafter, the contract from the state of North Dakota came through, so that's why it's not on the agenda, but it's in the packet. And that would be cost participation construction maintenance agreement with the DOT. You notice the $2 amounts are different because the contract includes some funding for construction engineering. As a side note with that, there's an RFP out for that, and we would need to go through that selection process shortly as well too. But with that, I would recommend approval of the resolution and the contract and stand for questions.
Yeah, we have one, Nick. Are there any residents affected by these areas that have gripes with any of these projects? Or are they?
Not to my knowledge. I have visited with the folks that I visited with the township. Both townships are aware, Ferry and Turtle River Township. And I have visited with the folks that live immediately next to the bridge that would be the most likely users. Now, I haven't visited with everyone, of course, so there could be somebody out there that is not aware of it, but as far as I know, I've
feedback from this project thus far.
No, I have not. As far as I know, I've done my due diligence to try and speak to people about what the future of these bridges are. And for the board's awareness, I did include some pictures in the back of the packet, or the back of this one, just to see an idea of what they look like. And the last 3, those are historic old bridges built in the 20s.
I'll move approval with signatures.
Second, I have a question too on the 2 low crossings. So that the money figures in there does not include what the county is gonna pay to put the 2. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's
And you
true.
take out of what, and that comes just out of your
Comes out of our construction fund.
your appropriate fund, right?
Correct.
And you've got that covered.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Just regarding the RFP, would a commissioner want to be involved in that? Select? Okay,
Good one.
okay, sounds good. I'll tell you.
This contract is the one that's in my email.
Yes. Yes, that's the one.
Miss Susie.
Yep. So the resolution to be signed, the hard copy version.
Okay.
And then the contract is the DocuSign that would go between Chair Hagan, or auditor, sorry, they use that term, and our state's attorney.
Very good.
Yes. And there are multiple places to sign. So, if you have any questions, just call me. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
You'll just call me.
Yeah.
Next time, okay.
Yeah. RFPs are due in a week.
Okay, so
We will have them in.
okay.
All right. Here we go now.
All right, well, I'm gonna do my best to fill in for Tom here, and he will, I think, add to the conversation a little bit throughout, but try to rest his voice as much as possible. First, kind of jumping back to the 2027 budget priorities. I think the goal of that line item was just to get the commission's perspective on your priorities going into the 2027 budget session, and to kind of start the conversation and just ask you all to be thinking about that for direction for staff at the next commission meeting in April, I think is the goal. And I know Commissioner Buerkle and others have already shared a lot, but just to start that process into the internship project. And so this comes down to budget as well. Going back to the hiring freeze, and being conservative with county dollars, there are still some projects that a lot of department heads and other departments would like to complete, but they are projects that could go to an intern, which is a great benefit to both Grand Forks County and to UND. And so Tom and I went to UND to ask about if they would be willing to do some sort of cost share for an intern proposal through the College of Business and Public Administration. And they were open to that. And Tom and I received an email just yesterday that they had approved $9,100 in funding to help cost share the program. The ask before the commission tonight is for a budget amendment of $23,500 from cash carry forward. This is kind of a pilot of what this program could look like in the future. The proposal is for 4 different internships, 2 for the summer, one being under tax equalization for GIS services, and then another in human resources, and then 2 for the fall semester, 1 in finance and tax to help with elections and whatever else Colleen might need, and then 1 in the public administration office to help on projects, but also marketing and a marketing campaign for social media for the county. And so that $23,500 budget ask, the ask of UND is not to help with the GIS internship, but all others. And so I'll let Tom jump in if he has anything to add here.
Can you repeat give me the 4 again? The summer 2 and then the.
Yes, so the summer 2 would be in tax equalization for GIS services, and then in human resources. And then for the fall semester, a finance and tax intern to help with elections, and then in the public administration office for marketing. Yep. Tom?
Yeah, no, Gracie, that was well done. Sorry, I sound a little bit like McGruff the crime dog. I know Commissioner Ross will like that, but yeah, we've been visiting with UND to try come up with a cost share program, and this, like Gracie said, is in response to hiring freeze and appreciating where the commission's at right now and not adding FTEs. That said, there's still work that does need to get done, and we can leverage our great partnership with the university. They're going to cost share these internships with us. I'll just elaborate on the GIS. I want to fully fund that one because there's going to be a lot of GIS work to do as we get ready for changes in GIS program software. So we can fund 4 interns for this through the remainder of the year for less than an FTE and get some very good work done, and hopefully keep some Grand Forks young professionals in the area. If the commission approves this, which I recommend they do, we'll look to add a budget line item in the 2027 budget as well, being that we won't be coming in with FTE asks. And so happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Tom, this is Tony. So with this being kind of considered a pilot program for this, is it going to be like 4 separate pilots then for each of the interns, or what would be the I'm for it, but will there be some measurable outcomes that will kind of determine if pilot moves forward into a program, or how do you kind of foresee that happening?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioner Hadi, that's an excellent question. So it's not forced effort pilot. So this internship proposal program that's in your packets that Gracie's bringing before you, that we brought to UND, the program itself will be a pilot. And we're intentionally starting very small. Because one, we don't have big purse strings, and Nistler College doesn't have big purse strings. And we want to make sure we can do this and not overburden staff with the administrative work. So we're going to go with this as trying it out for the summer and the fall semester. I will myself, Gracie, mainly I'll be reviewing the internships and how they go with Nistler College leadership. Are the students getting what they need out of it? Is the county getting what they need out of it? Is Nistler getting what they need out of it? Is it sustainable long term? So we're going to review it every year. We're going to review to make sure there aren't any hiccups. We're going to review it to see if it can be streamlined. We're going to review it to see if it just doesn't work and we're not going to do it anymore. So this would be a crawl, stand, walk, run type program. So looking to maybe get through a couple of funding cycles, Commissioner Hodney, before really leaning into it a little harder and making it a more permanent program for the county and the university. And I want to just maintain or state something that the city has a program with UND similar, and Mr. Lund talked about intern Grand Forks. We're not looking to take away anything from those existing programs. This has got to work for both the county and Nistler College.
It's Mark.
Yes.
Two questions. The first one, how did the university arrive at that figure of $9,100?
I gave it to him, sir. So the ask of 23,500 totals the salary of the 4 interns. I minused out the GIS interns portion and halved it, and that's where the 9,100 comes from.
Okay, thank you. And my, I guess, second question is, have there been students that have shown interest in getting on board?
Yes, sir.
What-
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, there's a delay in the sound. I apologize, sir. Yes, we could hire 6 interns today. There is an interest, and not to prolong the conversation, but Commissioner Ross probably remembers this is something we've been trying to do with the university for about 6 or 7 years. And it was actually UND that came to us first to see if we were interested in such a program. So we can fill these, no problem.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
soon.
So you're looking for,
Yes, it would be looking for a budget amendment of $23,500 from cash carry forward to go towards this pilot of the internship program with Nistler College.
Second.
all right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. All right.
Thank you very much. The next item is just for conversation. So it's the new and expanding business tax incentive policy. So this has come from multiple discussions, and Tom or Colleen, feel free to jump in as both of you have been part of these. But this is just coming to the commission to hear your thoughts on what's been proposed for the new and expanding business tax incentive policy. So that's changing for the recommended 5-year step down schedule, which the current policy has it at a first year of 100%, second year 80%, third year 60% in terms of a tax break. And the new policy recommended has a 5-year step down schedule. In listening to the commission, never at 100%, but at 80, 60, 40, 20, and 10. So for your thoughts on that draft, and then for direction on the inclusion of additional tax incentives in county policy, of pilots, TIFs, residential apartments, incentives extending beyond 5 years, etc., and to provide just kind of direction on whether you want to move forward with those different types of tax incentives as well. I do want to emphasize that staff would recommend that if you do decide to pursue those other forms of tax incentives, in addition to the new and expanding business tax incentive plan draft that's before you, that those would be standalone policies. If you want to explore those other structures of tax incentives to reduce any sort of confusion surrounding them. And then also regarding an email that I think the commission received earlier today about this discussion, we did want to provide clarity that an entity to qualify for this draft of the new and expanding business tax incentives would have to be primary sector certified, or else the application would not be considered. And that was a big part of that conversation with Twin State. Tom, do you want to add any additional color?
No, that's perfect, Gracie. Just, we're looking at 5 years. We're looking at new and expanding businesses with a step down only, has to be primary sector certified. And just looking to amend an existing policy.
So just direction on the proposal of the draft before you today, and if there's any further conversation that you want to have about other types of tax incentives.
Very good.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
A couple of points. Number one, I just want to remind you, if we do this, we're gonna do to townships and school districts and fire districts exactly what the city does to us. We're gonna determine that they're not gonna get tax money and they have no say in it. And they can complain like we do, but it doesn't matter. It's 5 years or less. So I just want to make it clear, we're gonna be doing what's being done to us. Point number two, I have less than zero interest of doing pilots, TIFs, apartment buildings are more than 5 years. And the reason is very simple, I'm gonna keep beating this drum. We cannot eliminate our new growth and then expect to pay our bill. This is unless you're willing to raise taxes every year, and then I remind you can only go up to 3%. So you've got a cap on existing values. The way we grow is new growth, and then we're gonna say when we get new growth, we're not gonna collect it for 10, 15, or 20 years. Once again, the third grade math doesn't add up. So I just want to put, I'm a 1 of 5, so it's up to you 4. I have zero interest in going down the road with what the city's done. I just totally disagree with it. Thank you.
All right. Any more comments about the 5-year step down? The new drafted policy? No? Mr. Hodney?
Well, it reads it's kind of confusing to me a little bit with, for, having kind of the verbiage in here that, shows that TIFs and pilots are still to be handled in a separately almost, and then it's still having to step down 5-year. There's just so much overlap there that, I feel like we have to word this differently, and I don't know if what's written right now serves any objective if it leaves it open to TIFs pilots at the same time. And I'm not saying I'm wholly against any of these things. I don't think it's clear enough.
Are you looking for you're wanting us to vote on this like an object? It's
No, just discussion.
Okay.
Because if we don't tell them what to do, they don't know what to do.
Right.
So-
You can give them a
So
framework.
you
but-
4 have to tell them what to do, because I know where I'm at. No way, Jose. So you 4 have to tell them, otherwise they're just gonna be left in limbo land.
And I understand that, but I believe these are also just objectives for people. Again, for those companies that are coming to look for those the benefit of having these tax incentives for 5 years. It's still just a framework. This is what the more likelihood of you getting this, here's some guidelines that you need to follow. So we can still say no, but this kind of gives them a directive as to what we are looking for. And
I almost wonder if we should put something to the effect of excluding residential housing. I think that's what the community is in favor of. At least the feedback I'm getting.
residential housing or apartments.
That's what I'm referencing.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm not putting this, I'm not getting people calling mad at me for voting no on those. It's more people saying, I hope you keep voting no on those, you know, and I don't get the sense that these are popular in the community at all. Especially after I remember Bob, I'll quote Commissioner Rost, he said, we'll call it bluff. And what did they do? They built it anyways.
Yeah.
You know, so Bob was right. And was Bob's a better poker player than I would have guessed. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to vote for it in its current state that it's in right now, because I think there's a little bit more nuance and context that we might want to consider. Because at the same time, I don't want to box us out of potentially getting another Agristo.
Right.
You know, that'd be pretty devastating to the community. I think everyone is in agreement that that is going to be a really nice addition to the community with some high paying jobs, whatnot. And so whatever we do land on, I see how do you do this and keep flexibility?
That's my biggest concern is that we're gonna box ourselves into something and then what are we gonna do? Change our policy for a specific entity and then what does that look like?
Well, it looks
So
like
it is,
favoritism.
right, that's what I'm saying. So it is a hard,
This is a tough one. Let's
Yeah.
kick this can.
well, I think what we can do is, what I do like about it is I do like the point system, you know, looking at what the more likelihood again of us to approve something like this. But I do think that we need to take the next couple weeks and look at this and maybe come back, whether it's the second meeting in April or the first meeting in May. And really what our priorities are and what do we want it to look like.
You might want to have it done before May though, because construction season. You know,
I mean, yeah, but
that's
I don't know if I can-
rapidly approaching. I don't know how many of them are gonna come in front of us in that time.
I mean, how many have we had in the last couple years? Like few, very few, a handful of
5 or
that.
6.
Right, that's it. So I mean, I don't see an influx of that coming in, but I do want us to be mindful and give this some thought because this is a very, I don't know what to call it, controversial, but there are a lot of opinions on what we should and shouldn't be doing. But I do agree that it is not something that I'm not getting calls for. Thank you for certain votes.
Well, the apartment buildings are just not popular.
Right,
They're-
right,
They're competitive disadvantages to current building owners, and I'm one of them.
Right.
So I hate to even pipe up about it because it makes it sound like I'm, you know, protecting my own self, but the truth of the matter is I'm one of dozens and dozens of apartment building owners in town that are at a disadvantage, you
right.
know, when we approve these things. And so I think we're gonna have a problem on our hands if we include the opportunity for apartments in whatever policy we come up with.
Yeah, while I appreciate the tool in our toolbox, I think it needs to be used sparingly and only in particular circumstances. And I'm not sure apartment complexes are in that. Do we want to keep that in there as a policy? I don't know.
Madam Chair, can I just, a couple comments for clarification? So the draft policy in front of the board has nothing to do with apartments. It has nothing to do with Agristos or 25-year pilots or TIFs. It has nothing to do with what the board's talking about. This is for a Twin State Environmental who's going to apply for a 5-year declining primary sector incentive. Or if Northrop Grumman wants to add more hangars and they come to the county and they say, we want to apply for a tax incentive, we can give them what's in your hand and say, here's what you get to apply for.
Right, yeah.
This, if the board wants to tackle pilots and TIFs and apartments, that should be a completely separate policy. That's my recommendation. But I'm hearing a little confusion here on the board. This policy in front of you is not for TIFs or apartments or pilots. It's only for a 5-year new and expanding. So if Widgets R Us is going to build outside of Thompson, North Dakota, and they want a 5-year, they're going to call Whitney, or they're going to call Colleen, or they're going to call me. And right now we have a policy that says we entertain 100%. And the board is saying, we don't want to do that anymore. And so what this policy is saying is we give it to the Widgets company outside of Thompson and say, this is what we offer, take it or leave it. Now, you might have a special circumstance where a company is going to just invest millions upon millions of dollars, and the board might want to negotiate to give them a better step down. But I just want the board to be clear. This policy isn't taking into consideration residential apartments or pilots or TIFs. And that's what I heard. That's kind of where I heard the board going down, was it was included in this, and it's not.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate
yeah.
that, the clarification. I was aware of that, but I think we're just kind of
I think it's a
banter
general,
right now,
it's
yeah.
a general conversation about the idea of, is it in,
mhm.
so this policy that's in front of us. If somebody were to want to build a 30-plex in Gilby or Emerado, this policy would not apply to that. Yours is what
That is correct, Commissioner Rustic, because that would not be a primary sector business.
did they not at the state level change the language on what's considered primary this last session? Because I thought the house originally just for like Renaissance zones and opportunity zones, and now they're applying for them all over town. And so I thought there was a subtle language change, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, that opened up the door for basically all these apartment buildings, because these never were coming in front of us prior to this last session. This is a kind of new development. So unless I'm mistaken in my assertion, I think this policy might want to address apartments or residential, or we just do a separate policy altogether regarding those type of things. Because if all it takes is a little language change on a definition in the century code, and all of a sudden, look what happens.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Rusted, we can do it however you'd like, but I want to point out every apartment incentive application you have seen has been for a pilot, not for a new and expanding business. So we're talking apples and oranges now.
Okay, thanks Tom.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I think I could maybe provide a little bit of clarity to that question. I don't believe there was a direct legislative change that changed for these pilots of apartment buildings to come before the city and the county and the school district. I don't think that was the case. Where I think the distinction is that an exemption in a pilot is addressed in the century code in the same statute. And for the exemption, the requirement of a primary sector business is required. For a pilot, that is in a separate subdivision of the same section of the century code that does not require that it be a primary sector business. So just like Mr. Ford said, that's a pilot, that's different than this. It's because that same section of the century code addresses pilots in one section and exemptions in another. And I think some people have read it as they're all the same, and that primary sector applies to pilots. So I think that's kind of some of the confusion. One other thing I think is important to add is that for counties, these exemptions are a little bit different in that the legislature has carved out a scenario in counties where the population is below a certain number, where it actually doesn't have to be primary sector. It can be the retail sector. And I think the idea is we don't want a big city like Grand Forks and Fargo to give an exemption to Walmart. But Larimore might appreciate giving an exemption to a grocery store to open up because that's all they've got. So I think that's something to be mindful of that falls within the purview of the county. That might be different for the city of Grand Forks or the city of Fargo in granting an exemption. So just kind of something to think about that the legislature kind of carved out for counties.
Thank you. Does that provide some more clarification on that, the pilots versus the expanding?
Yeah.
New business? All right. Is there any other comments on this policy in general? Nothing to do with apartments or the TIFs or anything. But we can sit on this and vote out of it in the next meeting. That's not good?
Yeah.
Sounds great. Thanks, Bob.
Absolutely.
You're good. You're good. So, yes, jumping right into just a quick Tyler technology upgrade update. That process, it's ever continuing. I believe the finance and tax side of things, while they've now moved on to the HR implementation. I mean, still working out some of the technicalities of it, but that side is now closer to the end, and whereas HR is starting to begin. And I think it's a process. So, you know, the things that the commission has talked a lot about, like timekeeping, time clocks and that sort of thing, that'll definitely be later in closer to probably December / next January before those types of items will be up and running. I think the testing environment for that starting near the end of summer, it's going to be a long process, and it just kind of depends. Evelyn and Michelle have been now meeting and starting to do the trainings to get that all figured out for that side of things along the way, but updates will continue to come down the line, and just making sure that everybody is comfortable getting the trainings in and finding times that everyone's available has been a challenge. Are there any questions on the Tyler Tech update that I can try to answer, or I can direct you to Evelyn and Michelle on?
So the upgrade, that was all forecasted and budgeted for, I assume, right? And the ongoing expenses for software costs and administration, was that all factored in? Do you think? I hear as well.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Hodney, this project was not budgeted for, so we brought estimates to the board, and it was approved using budget amendment from cash carry forward. That includes getting the system up and running. To your other question, sir, the ongoing subscription and user fees will have to be budgeted into our regular annual operating budget.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that I can direct to somebody else? Okay. For the Grand Sky Fire Station update, we do have a final draft of the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement. But we just need to have an internal meeting with Grand Sky to kind of review and get general acceptance on it for the plan moving forward. But it's in a good spot in terms of language with Grand Forks Air Force Base. We just have to have some more internal meetings for that. And then if there aren't any questions, moving on. Yes.
I have no desire to have a county building, a county fire department, or county trucks. So this is all gonna sink or swim between the DOD and Grand Sky or whoever else is involved. But I will not vote to pay for anything out of a building or for any of the staffing or for any of the vehicles they need. Fire trucks are very expensive. In fact, they're beyond very expensive. So I want to make it clear, I have no desire to start, once again, this would be an expansion of the county projects. I have no desire to get involved in that. So between the DOD and the people they're working with and Grand Sky, and I think there's a grant for the building up, that all is going to be, as far as my vote, once again, it's up to you four. But I don't want us going down that road. Couple fire trucks, you're talking $2 million,
I think that was
just for the trucks.
that was a clarification that we did provide to our other entities that
Just
were not in the.
I'm clarifying my clarifying, because there's any
Perfect.
concern.
Probably
We
can find a
we don't
fire truck
have the money,
marketplace.
and the rest of the county, not the city, the counties are all paying taxes for fire protection. And so this would be inappropriate for the county to get involved in this, as far as creating, so to speak, a county fire department for whatever amount of buildings are next to the base. Okay. Just want to make sure,
Yeah.
sure you knew I was going with it. Now we all know.
I'd say don't worry, we are good at communicating the Commissioner Bierke line of the county's broke, so.
We'll get a sign made.
As far as the legislative priorities, this document has come from numerous conversations with the legislative committee, of which Chair Hagan and Commissioner Bierke are both on. What we are looking for is approval of this current version so that as staff, we can start advocating and working with legislators on county priorities moving forward. I know that the chamber is starting to amp up their meetings with legislators. Session will be here before we know it, even though elections won't be here until final elections until November. And any comments or thoughts that you might have too, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. There's shocking development. I have more comments. First of all, I want to, as we get down the road on this, I want to make sure, Ms. Lean, that you get involved with those interim committees that are appropriate. Whichever, you'll have to look all that up, but
Yes, sir.
I don't, we gotta get up now. So,
Mhm.
as soon as this gets approved, the next 6-7 months, we'll have time to hit these interim committees to work on. I also want to mention that, District 18, those 3 legislators are not up for election. And in District 20 and in 42, 2 of those 3 in each district are not up for election. So I would think we want to focus on those immediately because they are not going to have campaigns to run. And I would like to see us, even to the point of trying to get some bills written, if need be.
Mhm.
I think they have access to a legislative council. And I believe the county, NODAC, whatever they call themselves, that group of county, they I think have access to lawyers to help too, if we need anything along this line. And so I want to go through these, just so you know, where there's a couple I want to put out there. I think Grand Forks County is, well, it's clear, I think we have issues. And so on the first one, I'm all for Grand Sky, I get it. I don't know if it's the job of the county to go ask for their money. I think we have a lot of fish to fry ourselves. And I am concerned that if we get down the road of, and I'll give you a specific example. When the legislative session approved the UND Medical School building, all you heard was, look what we did for Grand Forks. Okay, you didn't do anything for Grand Forks. You built a building for a university that is located in Grand Forks. If you understand what I'm saying here, they did, they funded a state institution, which is their job. And so I am concerned about us, if we're gonna get into lobby for Grand Sky, I think we have more priorities. And I don't want to be down there lobbying 15 different bills trying to get passed. I think we should try, there's a few big ones, maybe some smaller stuff we can get involved in. But I don't think the county should carry for Grand Sky. I think Grand Sky can work with the state legislators that they deal with, and they can go to the Commerce Department and let them work through that. I know we're their fiscal agent, but they're also private businesses. So I don't know if we want to do that or not. That's on the first, next page. It talks about local correctional center funding. I don't think we should touch this with a 10-foot pole. Because we asked the governor to put it in his budget. They came back with a plan finally, and then we said no. And now we want to go down there and ask him for money. I don't think the look is good. If the county, once again, No Duck, whatever they call themselves. If that group wants to do it, we wanna support them if we're asked, I think that's one thing. I don't think we as a county should be lobbying for the jail funding. Politically speaking, not a good look. And then for the YAC, the Youth Assessment Center, it mentioned in their operational. I want to mention on that there's a massive fixed cost that it's 40% of our bond, which I'm rounding the number off, is $1.1 million. So when we say we spend $2 million on the YAC, if you want to count the bond payment, which you really should, we're really spending 3.1 million for the YAC. We're bringing in 600,000 in revenue. So we are a regional state facility that is being paid for overwhelmingly by county taxpayers, and it's not right. And so I think number one, we need to include the cost. I got the square footage, I believe it's around up 40% of that facility is the YAC. And if you do the math, it's about 1.1 million. So I think we ought to include that in our numbers of costs. Because that facility is available 24/7, 365 to any county, and anything has to do with the state anytime they want. And there's a price to be paid for that. I don't think it's appropriate for the county taxpayers. So I think we ought to add that to that somewhere into the wording that's in there. The fixed cost of the building. So I'm good with the rest of them, but to summarize, I just think we need to add some wording to the act about the cost of the building payment. I don't think we should mention the jail at all. And I also think the Grand Sky should be on themselves. So I know they want to vote, so I guess I'm gonna wait for more discussion before I make a motion. But I don't know where the rest of you are at on that, but that's where I'm at on. The rest of them, I'm all good on. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Input from the board on the legislative priorities, please.
So with this list that's been produced, they're all good items to bring up, but are they prioritized? I mean, are we going to prioritize them? It's a lot of things to tackle, and it just, it'd be nice to know what's our top. Excellent.
Did you want to add something, Tom?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Hodney, so they are not prioritized in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ranking. They're just our main key initiatives going into the next session, so that when we're talking with legislators at Team Grand Forks, dinners on the weekend or lunches on the weekend at the chamber, or going out to the session for testimony, staff and commissioners have an approved list to talk in support of or in against of. So like you said, it seems like a lot. We could add far more, where we've tried to pare it down so that it benefits all counties and not just Grand Forks County. Take out Grand Sky, obviously, and that's another conversation. But this is just a document so that we as staff have your blessing as a board to go and advocate for or against policy that's good for the county or bad for the county. I would share Commissioner Bierke's sentiments. I did have a conversation with Aaron Burst, the director of North Dakota Association of Counties. They asked us about being an advocate for the correctional center funding. I told them I don't think we should be taking a front seat to that right now. We can play a support role, but let other counties go to the mat for that one. With Grand Sky, just keep in mind all the $37+ million the state has provided in infrastructure is the county's money. It goes to the county. It's not private money. So it goes to the county. It goes out through bids like it's required through Century Code. Commission reviews, commission approves them. And I'd caution the board on not supporting that because it's your project. So what you'd be telling the legislature is that's our project, but we don't support it. So I just want to use caution if when you talk about not supporting your own project.
Chair Hagan, members of the commission. Also, there will be an opportunity next Tuesday. The North Dakota Association of Counties staff is going to be in town for a meeting at 2:30. They do a tour either annually or every 2 years, and they try to hit every county, or they do hit every county. And their goal is to connect with the commissioners and talk about priorities. It's Grand Forks County's turn. They want to hear your legislative priorities. I know Commissioner Bierke already provided me with his top 3 legislative priorities, and we'd look to the rest of you as well for what you deem as Grand Forks County's priorities. And then you can share those with NDACO. And then they in turn share their priorities with us. As Tom said, and as Commissioner Bierke mentioned, in terms of anything related to the correctional centers, that is going to be a North Dakota Association of Counties priority. But I think just giving staff the ability to support them, not be the lead role on it, is important. So that way they can, add our name to the list of counties that would benefit, sort of thing. I think as we get closer to the session, certainly we would look to you all to tell us, where are we prioritizing in terms of spending the most time. But this just gives, like Tom said, us the ability to talk on things on behalf of Grand Forks County and advocate for Grand Forks County as much as we can.
You can also include every single unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
We could make that a blanket if you so choose, but I know
Well, you'll,
he's mentioned that more than once.
Madam Chair, you'll notice in the priorities, it talks about cap reform. And no one is suggesting we we can't lobby. We advocate that caps go away. What we're saying is caps need to be reassessed and be smarter. So, Madam Chair, you and Commissioner Hadi mentioned unfunded mandates. So, Marcy's Law, victim witness advocacy, that's an unfunded mandate. We have to fund that. It goes against the caps. Jail, we have to provide a jail. That counts against the cap. We have to provide elections. That goes against the cap. We have to provide, I could go on and on and on. But right now, that's why that language is in your proposed list of priorities, is to go to the legislature and ask them to reassess how caps are measured. You also think about 3%. You're going to be creating a budget soon, 3% step, a COLA. Health insurance is not going to be 3%. It's going to be more. So by the time you pay your employees and keep them here, you've blown a 3% cap out of the water anyways. So to your point, we need to be advocating that services the counties are mandated to provide should not be counted against the cap. And that's what that specific bullet point is discussing.
Yeah, those were the 2 that I highlighted. If you want to, with my priorities, if you want to say it, the clarification on the mill levy and then the youth assessment center.
Mm-hmm.
If you gentlemen don't have any other ones to provide, I mean, you can give them to Gracie at another time, but are you looking for us to vote on the legislative priorities? Correct.
Correct.
Is there any that you would like to take out? I know Mr. Bierke's.
I just want to have a clarification on the jail one.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should leave it in there. We can just tell these guys next week that yes, but I don't think that should be on our list. I guess we'll vote on it, but I can read a room. That's not a message you want to take in a room.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll move approval with the expulsion of the jail priority.
And this is, sorry, go there. We have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Just to clarify, the North Dakota Association of Counties is taking the lead on that though, for like, if we take that out of our legislative priorities, they're still, okay, got it. Okay. We have a first and a second.
I just want to follow up. So you'll include in the act language, you can get the exact dollar figure. It's roughly 1.1 million. We need to add in there the bond payment. Because the numbers we'll present, if we don't present that, it's bad enough it is. It looks horrible once you throw that in there, which is what we should be doing. It's the true and actual cost.
Chair Hagan, Commissioner Bierke, my only question would be, do you want that added right now, or do you want us to work that out
Well, you
in
can
terms
figure it
of
out,
formula?
in the language, you can.
Do you want it in the language of the document or just in the way that we advocate for it?
Should be the way that we advocate for it,
Yeah.
because it's supporting evidence. I
We're-
think that's maybe
we're
what
here
you're,
next week.
But also just in general, we talked later, we need to,
right,
it's not only the operational cost, it's the fact we're paying, the Grand Forks taxpayers are paying $1.1 million a year. So you can bring somebody here anytime you want.
right,
That's not how it should work. You know, we should pay for part of it, but not all
right.
of it.
We should be some more skin in the game.
Yeah.
Correct. I think a clarify or supporting evidence just as a, I don't know, if it needs to be in here as a bullet point, but I do agree that that is something that we need to make sure that we highlight. So,
And I was wondering if we could split the motion to accept all of them, except for Grand Sky, and then I can vote yes on everything else. And then you can vote on that separately and you guys can vote yes. So I'm asking that as a procedural move.
say that again?
To split the motion so that approve everything except for Grand Sky. Cause then I want to vote yes with the rest of you. And then you can make a motion on Grand Sky separately.
Okay. I guess that
That's up to the motion maker to do that.
you're the motion maker, sir.
I-
Correct? I think you are.
Don't think I can vote on that, so,
But you made the motion.
yeah, I didn't think about that.
Okay, so now then we don't have a motion right now, so I will make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the document. Deleting the jail. And we're gonna leave the Grand Sky out for now. I'll approve the rest of the document. With leaving the jail out. That's my motion.
Again,
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
all right.
Opposed? Motion passed.
I didn't vote.
You didn't vote?
No.
Why?
Why, are you recusing yourself from voting?
I have to on the next one.
Because he took out Grand Sky. so
I took
that's
out
not
Grand
voting
Sky.
on.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So now we're voting on Grand Sky. So I don't know if you want to make a motion to recuse Commissioner Rusted.
Yeah, I make a motion to recuse Commissioner Rusted.
Second.
We have first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Make a motion on the grant too.
Okay, I make a motion then to include
Yes,
Grand Sky
yes.
in the priority.
Second. All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed 4-1 with Mr. Bricky dissenting.
3-1.
3-1, sorry.
Good.
Someday I'll get those numbers right.
Madam Chair, can I make a quick suggestion? Maybe it'll help on the Grand Sky issue is we change it from Grand Sky to state we support enhanced use lease infrastructure dollars. Just change it and take the private sector name out, because that's what it is. It's an enhanced use lease with the county.
That's probably a good clarification, but in terms of marketing our legislative objectives, people are gonna resonate with Grand Sky, and that is a very marketable thing, and there's been a huge impact, so I think it still needs to say Grand Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm good.
all right. Fiona, do you have one more thing?
Yes, and thank you for going through the weeds on all of that with us. We'll have more clarity in numbers and such as we get further in the session, and everything that you all have said has been heard and taken down. The last item is just a quick compatible use study update. The working group met once. They met in March, and so now they're in the gathering information stage for the compatible use study. So hoping to have more public engagement here soon, but the information gathering has commenced, which is probably the biggest lift of the entire thing. So it's a big update there.
All right, thank you. All right, Madam State's Attorney.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, I just have one item. As you're aware, we've talked many times about the opioid litigation that's ongoing. I think we're probably nearing the end, if not the end of settlement agreements. It's been going on for a number of years, but what we have to consider today is 6 regional distributors or dispensers as defendants there. in the multi-district litigation, they're referred to as the remnant defendants. Because they had a comparatively smaller role than a lot of the distributors and major companies that settlements have already come before the board. And so these are kind of some of the smaller companies that hold some responsibility, but not as much as the heavier hitters. So these defendants in this settlement is Associated Pharmacies Incorporated and the American Associated Pharmacies, J.M. Smith Corporation, the Louisiana Wholesale Drug Company, Morris and Dixon Company, North Carolina Mutual Wholesale Drug Company Incorporated, and United Natural Foods Incorporated, including its subsidiaries Super Value and Advantage Logistics. So these 6 companies are referred to as the remnant defendants that have now come to a proposed settlement agreement for your consideration. So nationwide, the combined sum of the settlement is $97,625,000. Now that's split between political subdivisions across the nation. Where this settlement differs is, if you recall from some of the prior ones that have come before us, the state's gotten a huge share and in comparison to the municipalities and political subdivisions. Where this settlement is different, the state does not get any share. The share is only divided amongst the political subdivisions. It's also limited to only those political subdivisions that litigate it. So I think probably maybe Mr. Ross was on the board at the time that the board decided to enter into the opioid litigation. And it was going around community, cities, counties, states across the nation, and everyone made their own decision. Some counties didn't join, some cities didn't join. The state of North Dakota, if you recall, did file a complaint, but my recollection was that ended up being dismissed, just based on how it was alleged. And so this, in some of the prior settlements, even non-litigating subdivisions, or like in the state of North Dakota situation, they still got a share even though they weren't litigating. This settlement is limited to only those litigating subdivisions. So it was a wise choice that the commission made years ago. With that said, this amount is split nationwide, so I don't think the actual value that Grand Forks County will get is substantial, maybe, in the $10,000 range or something like that. But that in addition to the other settlements that have come before the board. Another distinction is this settlement is a one-time settlement, so our portion of the settlement, if we opt in, will come to us immediately, and it won't be spread over a number of years like some of the prior settlements that have come before the board. Another distinction is that sorry, I forgot what I was going to add here. In any event, the council that's representing the county in this opioid litigation, as well as the multi-district litigation executive committee, recommends subdivisions do accept this settlement. And so if that's the wishes of the board, I would need a motion for the chair's signature on the participation agreement. And if you have any questions, I certainly can answer.
Is there a second? I'm sorry. Wait a second. Is there any other discussion from Ms. Wilson? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
I had a question. So there's obviously the dollar amounts. Was there anybody going to prison ever for this? It was just dollar amounts, right?
The opioid litigation is civil litigation.
Yeah.
I'm not aware if anyone has been criminally charged. But
That's
if
what I mean.
there
It was a
was,
broad question.
yeah, that would be separate than the civil litigation.
Thanks. All right, committee reports, Mr. Bricky.
Had a fair board meeting, still looking for volunteers and fair board members if they want. We're down to 3, so. Them is not you guys, you got enough work to do, but somebody out in the community wants to, we're looking for some fair board. And then the MPO is, put on RFP, they're gonna begin their long-range planning for the metro area and the transit system, which means that has nothing to do with us. That's it.
Very good. Mr. Hotney?
No, you're.
Went to the state of the base and showed him Mr. Bearkey and Commissioner or Chairman Hagan. That was really good. I was really impressed with that base commander. He didn't talk a whole lot about himself. He talked a lot about the troops and what they do for the base, what they do for the community. And that's probably one of the best ones I've ever gone to. Brick meeting, Gracie and I were there for that and talked about all the activities going on. It was, they're always informative. You could get some generals on there and you get some, senators and, but it's a good committee. It's a good meeting. And, then today was the mayor's base enhancement, meeting at the Chamber of Commerce. The mayor was up flying a plane. He wants to get his pilot's license. He wasn't there. So it was Barry Wilford, myself, and Scott Meyer. And so we talked about the budget for the mayor's base enhancement, since they didn't get all the dollars that they thought they were going to get. And I just wanted to make sure, and I was told by Mr. Ford and Gracie to make sure that our money is good for our
Compatible
study
use.
that's,
Yep.
yeah, study that's being done. And it is good. They are gonna fund it, so that was a good thing. Other than that, that's it.
I had nothing.
All right, I also again, echo what you had said. It was a great state of the base. Colonel Rosales is a great speaker, and I love that he highlighted his airmen and women and what they do in the community, not just in their service. But and then we had the EDC annual meeting that I was a part of. So that was a nice presentation as well. But other than that, I don't have anything else to add. All right, we have one unfinished new business, the special assessments. And
I have a question on that.
Yes.
On the special assessments for the auditor, do we pay the lump sum immediately or do you finance those?
Commissioner Bricky, we usually pay them in a lump sum.
Great, good idea, thanks.
I feel like you're setting her up on that question.
You answered wisely.
That was the right answer.
That was the right answer. All right, I think the last thing that we have, I think we've already talked about, but the North Dakota Association of Counties will be here next Tuesday at 2:30. Yes, Tracy, do you know where did I miss in the courthouse?
There,
Fifth floor conference room.
Or conference room. Okay, very good. And then under deferment and benefits, what is? I'm not sure what that means.
Move adjourn.
Oh, sure. Your real name, okay. All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.